Chapter 441. After confirming the alliance's roles, Li Fuchen made a request as the alliance leader. Everyone, I need spirit stones to cultivate. If you can provide a certain amount of spirit stones, I promise that in the next few years, I will give each of you 1 or 2 low-tier Earth-class tools. Of course, the more spirit stones you provide, the sooner you will get the low-tier Earth-class tool. Next, please send me a private message. After thinking for a moment, Li Fuchen said, of course, if anyone doesn't trust this alliance leader will not force you and will not make things difficult for you. Finishing his statement, Li Fuchen smiled and glanced at everyone. In the palace hall, there was silence. Everyone was thinking about the credibility of Li Fuchen's words. The White River sect's Supreme Grand Elder took a glance at Mu Hanxin and the Earth-class low-tier gloves. He gritted his teeth and transmitted a message to Li Fuchen, Alliance Leader, my White River sect is willing to contribute 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. It didn't matter if Li Fuchen was a man of his words, he had to fight for it. His White River sect was a first-rate sect. If he could have a low-tier Earth-grade weapon, it would be enough for him to gain a foothold among the top powerhouses. In other words, if Li Fuchen had deceived him, he would at most lose 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. To the White River sect, it wasn't considered a huge loss. However, if he hadn't lied to him, then he would have profited greatly. Earth-level low-tier equipment, in the Eastline continent, cannot be bought with spirit stones, is a priceless treasure. Alright, I wonder what type of Earth-class low-tier equipment you require? Li Fuchen transmitted a message to the White River sect's Supreme Grand Elder. The White River sect's Supreme Grand Elder revealed a delighted expression. Since Li Fuchen asked in such detail, it meant that he was reliable. He quickly transmitted a message, I will definitely want a weapon for the first item. A great spear or a pike will do. No problem. Li Fuchen nodded. Leader, our flourishing school is willing to offer 80,000 low-grade spirit stones. My Thunderbolt sect is willing to offer 120,000 low-grade spirit stones. None of the top 10 factions spoke. The ones who spoke first were the first-rate sects or the few remaining second-rate sections. As for the third-rate sects, they had either been destroyed by the demonic path forces, surrendered to the demonic path forces, or became the vassals of the large sections. They were not qualified to participate in the Alliance Conference. Soon, the top 10 forces could no longer hold themselves back. Alliance Master, our 3 Absolute Palace is willing to pay 150,000 low-grade spirit stones. The Golden Absolute Palace is willing to pay 150,000 low-grade spirit stones. High Heaven Sword Sect bids 180,000 low-rank spirit stones. The Sky Dragon Sword Sect offers 150,000 low-grade spirit stones. Eternal Spring Valley bids 200,000 low-grade spirit stones. As the voices echoed in his ears, the smile on Li Fuchen's face was getting brighter. He didn't expect these sects to be so rich. Just the low-grade spirit stones from a top-notch sect was enough for him to return to the 7-color continent. But thinking about it, it was normal. The East Unicorn continent might be barren and there weren't many spirit stone veins. But everyone here was a pinnacle existence that controlled a region. It was easy for them to take out 100,000 to 200,000 low-grade spirit stones. In the 7-color continent, a major clan in a city would be able to take out 10,000 to 20,000 low-grade spirit stones by clenching their teeth. The East Unicorn continent sect forces, if they clenched their teeth, they could probably take out 500,000 low-grade spirit stones. As for whether it would affect the operation of the sect, it was unknown. After all, every Heaven Dipper realm martial artist in the sect would be given out low-grade spirit stones. Reincarnation realm martial artists would also need low-grade spirit stones to cultivate. Apart from that, some of the places in the sect that were covered with arrays, especially the sect protection array, would require spirit stones to operate. If the array relied on thin heaven and earth chi, the effects of the array would be greatly reduced. My Thunder God sect is willing to pay 50,000 low-grade spirit stones. The Mystic Tools sect is willing to pay 50,000 low-grade spirit stones. Finally, the Thunder God sect and the Mystic Tools sect each reported a number. These 2 sects had a feud with Li Fuchen, therefore, they were certain that Li Fuchen wouldn't give them Earth-class low-tier equipment. But they were afraid that Li Fuchen would settle the score later, therefore, they had no choice but to report a number that wasn't considered too much, but wasn't considered too little either. There was a total of 36 sects, and Li Fuchen calculated in his heart. The 36 sects had contributed a total of 4.08 million low-grade spirit stones. This was an extremely appalling number, and in the 7-color continent, most of the battle spirit realm masters weren't as wealthy as him. There was no other choice. Battle spirit realm masters had to rely on themselves to earn spirit stones, but Li Fuchen could rely on the entire continent to earn spirit stones. This was a profitable business. It was as if he had picked it up for free. Li Fuchen was bursting with joy in his heart. After everyone finished transmitting their messages, Li Fuchen said seriously, "For the first batch, I will offer 5 Earth-class low-tier equipment. The sects that will receive them are the Wind-Snow sect, Eternal Spring Valley, High Heaven Sword sect, White River sect, and the Thunderbolt sect. Everyone, please wait for the good news. In addition, I will also gift some Earth-class low-tier elixirs to the rest of the sections. It will be helpful for your cultivation or the cultivation of the heart. As for the Earth-class low-tier equipment, all of you will have to wait a little longer." Li Fuchen wasn't going to satisfy everyone at once. The rarer something was, the more valuable it was. He had to whet their appetites in order to make them obedient. If he was to satisfy everyone at once, there might be some other problems. In addition, the White River sect and the Thunderbolt sect might not be offering as many spirit stones as the other elite factions, but Li Fuchen intentionally placed them as the first batch. It was to stimulate the other factions, especially these elite factions. While speaking, Li Fuchen took out an Earth-class low-tier artifact armor from his storage bag and handed it to Mu Hanxin. "I just happen to have an Earth-class low-tier artifact armor here." On the 7-color continent, Li Fuchen had obtained plenty of Earth-class low-tier artifact armors and weapons, but he had basically sold them for low-grade spirit stones. This Earth-class low-tier artifact armor was from the Scarlet Fire Fist. The gloves that Li Fuchen gifted to Mu Hanxin were also from the Scarlet Fire Fist. Artifact armor? Mu Hanxin was delighted. With the gloves, even if his strength wasn't top 10 in the East Unicorn continent, he would at least be top 15. With this Earth-class low-tier artifact armor, his overall strength would at least be top 10. If he was to go against Xiahou Wu again, he would at least have a chance and wouldn't be easily injured. Earth-class low-tier artifact armor? Including Su Yuanhe and Xiahou Wu, everyone had envious expressions. They didn't even have Earth-class low-tier weapons, but Mu Hanxin had an artifact armor. It was truly infuriating to compare oneself with others. But there was no other choice as Mu Hanxin was too close to Li Fuchen. "Congratulations, Elder Mu." The various sects' supreme elders were looking at the artifact armor in Mu Hanxin's hands with passionate eyes. Same to you." Mu Hanxin grinned and laughed heartily. "All right, the Alliance Conference has ended. Everyone, return and prepare the spirit stones." Li Fuchen waved his hand and ended the conference. For the next few days, he was going to make a trip back to the 7-color continent. Of course, before returning, he had to wait for the various sects to deliver the low-grade spirit stones. 1 week later, the various sects had all delivered their spirit stones over. Some of the sects changed their minds at the last minute and said that they wanted to contribute more low-grade spirit stones, hoping that Li Fuchen would put them in the second batch. Li Fuchen naturally wouldn't reject them. As such, the original 4.08 million low-grade spirit stones had turned into 4.6 million low-grade spirit stones. With so many low-grade spirit stones, I can make over 20 trips. After consuming 210,000 low-grade spirit stones, the teleportation board's energy pool was filled up. Li Fuchen activated the energy pool and turned into a stream of light that vanished from the East Unicorn continent. 7-color continent, Violet Flower Kingdom, South Forest City. In a single day, more than half of the Earth-class low-tier equipment in the South Forest City had been bought. At the same time, half of the Earth-class elixirs in the Violet Flower Kingdom had been bought. With a massive amount of spirit stones, Li Fuchen bought whatever he saw that was useful. Some were for the various sects, some were for the Azure Water sect, some were for the Li clan. Of course, the most valuable items were naturally for himself. After a final calculation, just the Earth-class low-tier equipment had cost Li Fuchen 600,000 low-grade spirit stones. Because Li Fuchen had bought 150 items, 80 of them were weapons and 70 of them were artifact armors. Weren't the demonic 10 regions powerful and tyrannical evil Dao factions? For the next few years, once the 100 Sects Alliance was equipped with Earth-class low-tier equipment, they would be able to suppress the two major factions. As for the elite few, Li Fuchen would just need to delay them. One day later, Li Fuchen activated the teleportation board and returned to the East Unicorn continent again. Let's wait a little longer. I will give them the Earth-class low-tier equipment after a few more days. Li Fuchen wasn't in a hurry to start the second Alliance conference. The spirit stones used for the two teleportations and the spirit stones used to fill up the chi pool have cost a total of 630,000. With the addition of the spirit stones used for the purchases, I have spent a total of 2 million spirit stones. Spirit stones are truly used up quickly. Looking at the 6 million low-grade spirit stones piled up in the wrist guard spatial zone, this was the first time Li Fuchen felt that the teleportation board was a divine artifact and he could be considered a continent merchant. If he relied on himself, he didn't know when he would be able to accumulate a few million low-grade spirit stones. 200 Vajra elixirs and 200 body forging golden elixirs should be able to increase my body refinement by another level. 400 Earth-class mid-tier body refinement elixirs had cost Li Fuchen 440,000 low-grade spirit stones. In fact, without relying on the body refinement elixirs, Li Fuchen's body refinement was also slowly increasing. After consuming the elixirs, Li Fuchen's dragon elephant power was increased to 25,000 strands. Right now, it was already 26,000 strands. Body refinement martial artists might consume resources, but they wouldn't consume resources as much as Li Fuchen. It was mainly because Li Fuchen's spirit soul was too powerful and his awareness was also powerful. He was able to control more chi power or extraordinary chi power. If it was other body refinement martial artists, even if they had sufficient resources, they wouldn't be able to progress so quickly. It was because they wouldn't be able to control their chi power. If they forcefully consumed a large number of body refinement elixirs, it would only cause their chi power to mutate and cause their body to explode. Li Fuchen didn't have so many restrictions. As long as he had a way to remove the impurities in his body, he would be able to constantly use body refinement elixirs to increase his body refinement. The unrestrained increase in speed allowed Li Fuchen to consume resources that were a few times or even 10 times more than others on the body refinement path. After consuming the Vajra elixirs, Li Fuchen's dragon elephant power was rapidly increasing. 28,000 strands, 30,000 strands, 35,000 strands, 40,000 strands, 50,000 strands, 55,000 strands. In just a few days, Li Fuchen's dragon elephant power had climbed to 55,000 strands. Chapter 442. There are too many impurities. I have to remove them. As the dragon elephant power was doubled, Li Fuchen's chi blood was filled with impurities and it made Li Fuchen feel uncomfortable. After consuming Earth-class mid-tier elixirs to temper impurities, the impurities in Li Fuchen's body were rapidly reduced. After a few more days, Li Fuchen's body was only left with less than 10% of the impurities. A portion of the impurities were from the Vajra elixirs and the body forging golden elixirs. There were also some impurities from the tempering elixirs. If Li Fuchen wanted to refine all the impurities, he would have to rely on himself. Of course, if there were a few Earth-class high-tier elixirs or one Earth-class peak-tier elixir, he would be able to reduce the impurities. But Earth-class high-tier elixirs wouldn't even appear in the market and couldn't be purchased with spirit stones. In just 1 week, the elixirs consumed are worth 500,000 spirit stones. Even if the impurities are all removed, I reckon I will need more than 2 million low-grade spirit stones to increase my cultivation to the next level. Li Fuchen let out a bitter smile. If he wanted to shorten the cultivation time, he had to rely on resources. If he didn't rely on elixirs, his body refinement would also be at this level, but it would be delayed by at least 5 years or even more than 10 years. Of course, he wouldn't be so foolish. His spirit soul was his advantage, just like those heavenly prodigies with body refinement bone frames. Why would they slow down their cultivation just to save resources? But even heavenly prodigies with body refinement bone frames wouldn't be able to improve without restrictions like Li Fuchen. Firstly, they wouldn't be able to control the sudden increase in body refinement. Secondly, they didn't have the Earth-class high-tier body refinement technique, the Dragon Elephant Body Forging chapters. The higher the grade of the body refinement technique, the faster the body refinement martial artist's cultivation speed. Elder Mu, inform everyone that I am going to convene the Second Alliance Conference. On this day, Li Fuchen's voice was transmitted to Mu Hanxin. Yes, Alliance Leader. Mu Hanxin immediately sent out the Reincarnation Realm experts from the Wind Snow sect to relay the message to the various factions. 1 week later, the Second Alliance Conference was held at the White River region's White Cloud Mountain. Inside the palace, all of the faction's supreme grand elders were present. Swish. Li Fuchen took out 4 Earth-class low-tier weapons and tossed them on the stone table. This is my spear. The White River region's supreme grand elder Xianxia and Wuxia reached out and a black gold spear landed in his hand. Buzz. After pouring his chi into the spear instantly burst with an invincible and piercing spear light. Fuchen, Xianxia and Wuxia was ecstatic. He had never thought that he would be able to get his hands on an Earth-grade low-rank long spear in such a short time. Compared to this long spear, 100,000 low-grade spirit stones was nothing. High Heaven Sword Sect's Supreme Grand Elder Hua Jianxiu also reached out and pulled the only Earth-grade low-rank artifact sword over. It was a green treasured sword. Once the sword was pulled out, the sharp sword chi skyrocketed, causing the entire interior of the palace to be filled with cold air and numb scalps. Alliance Leader Long, Alliance Leader. His basic strength was about the same as Sky Dragon Sword Sect's Supreme Grand Elder Gui Feng, but Gui Feng had a low-grade Earth-grade treasured sword while he didn't, so he had always been suppressed by Gui Feng. The Eternal Spring Valley's Su Yuanhe and the Thunderbolt Sect's Tang Yuan also obtained Earth-class low-tier weapons. Su Yuanhe's mood was better than everyone present. He, Su Yuanhe, had already cultivated the Earth-class low-tier cultivation technique, 8 Desolate Eternal Spring Technique to the highest rank and had grasped the 8 Desolate Eternal Spring Technique intent. His strength was already comparable to Mu Hanxin. With the Earth-class low-tier whip, his strength had reached an extremely horrific level. Apart from Li Fuchen, the Evil King, and the Petrified Queen, he didn't fear anyone. In fact, if the Black Sky Sect ruins didn't open, he was confident he could contest with the Evil King. It was a pity that the Evil King had a bountiful harvest in the Black Sky Sect ruins and was much stronger than before. If he wasn't injured in the Mystic Tools sect, he would have already attacked the 100 Sects Alliance. Alliance Leader, I wonder where did these Earth-class equipment come from? Xiahou Wu asked with an unbearable itch. Everyone looked at Li Fuchen in response. They were also very curious as they didn't know where Li Fuchen obtained so many Earth-class low-tier equipment. Li Fuchen knocked on the stone table with his finger. This is my secret and it isn't convenient to divulge it. In response, Xiahou Wu was rather disappointed. In his opinion, Li Fuchen must have found an ancient hidden domain. In this ancient hidden domain, there were plenty of ruins. If Xiahou Wu could enter this hidden domain, he wouldn't need to look at Li Fuchen's face. But if Li Fuchen didn't say it, Xiahou Wu couldn't do anything either as he couldn't force Li Fuchen to say it. In the entire continent, there was probably no one who could force Li Fuchen. After staring at Xiahou Wu until Xiahou Wu's hair stood on end, Li Fuchen shifted his gaze. Those who didn't obtain any Earth-class low-tier equipment don't have to be anxious. I have some Earth-class low-tier elixirs here, one for each of you. Li Fuchen took out bottles of elixirs and distributed them to everyone. Everyone was looking forward to these Earth-class low-tier elixirs. The East Unicorn continent's generation gap was too severe. Earth-class equipment and elixirs were all things that could only be encountered and not sought. If there were sufficient resources, they wouldn't be stuck at the reincarnation realm and would have already progressed to the battle spirit realm. Of course, the restriction of heaven and earth chi was also a major factor. 10 days had passed since the second Alliance conference. Li Fuchen's blazing flame bone frame pattern was finally comprehended to 49%. Li Fuchen had a strong premonition that once he comprehended the blazing flame bone frame pattern to 50%, he would definitely be able to awaken the blazing flame divine ability. This step is probably the most difficult. Li Fuchen took a deep breath and immersed himself in the world of blazing flames. In the bone frame spatial zone, as Li Fuchen comprehended more blazing flame patterns, the blazing flame started to burn from the root of the blazing flame bone frame. Right now, the blazing flame was only at 49% and was just one step away from 50%. Li Fuchen didn't know that when he was comprehending the blazing flame patterns, the blue spirit soul in his mind finally had a trace of change. In the center of the blue spirit soul, there was a trace of pale purple that was created out of nothing. This pale purple was so pure and flawless. After being affected by the pale purple, the blue spirit soul had become transparent and there were traces of pure purple electric currents that were flickering. Li Fuchen, who was comprehending the blazing flame bone frame pattern, hadn't noticed the changes in his spirit soul. He only knew that his perception seemed to have improved a lot and there was a trace of connection with the blazing flame law. 49%. 49%. 49%. 49%. There was a frenzied flash of spirit light and the blazing flame on the blazing flame bone frame had finally burned to 50%. Boom. In the next moment, Li Fuchen felt that the blazing flame bone frame was absorbing the blazing flame power at a speed that was 10 times faster. If when comprehending 10% of the blazing flame patterns, the absorption of the blazing flame power would be 10 times faster than the initial speed, then 49% would be 50 times faster, and 50% would be 500 times faster. In almost every blink of the eye, Li Fuchen would see the fireball in the bone frame spatial zone getting bigger, and this fireball was the blazing flame power. At the same moment, inside the fireball, a blazing flame crystal was being produced. The blazing flame crystal was very flawless, so flawless that it looked a little illusory. On the surface of the blazing flame crystal, blazing flame patterns were rapidly extending. These blazing flame patterns weren't as mystical and profound as the blazing flame bone frame pattern, but they were self-contained and were similar to array patterns and martial patterns. A power that made contact with the blazing flame law spread out. This is the blazing flame divine ability? Li Fuchen was extremely curious. The blazing flame crystal was gradually condensing and emitting a stronger blazing flame wave. Li Fuchen had a feeling that once this blazing flame wave burst out, it would explode and incinerate everything. Swish! Li Fuchen soared into the sky and left the wind snow sect before arriving above the clouds. I wonder how powerful this blazing flame divine ability is. Li Fuchen's awareness entered the blazing flame crystal and tried to activate it. Blaze! Li Fuchen's body was instantly ignited with ferocious flames. His hair had turned into flames, his eyebrows had turned into flames, even his eyes had flames. Even his clothes were burning, but the strange thing was that his hair, eyebrows, eyes, and clothes weren't burned into ashes. It seemed like there was a law protecting them and the flames were only burning outside of the law. Blazing flame divine ability. Heart of blazing flame. The moment Li Fuchen activated the blazing flame crystal, he knew the name of this blazing flame divine ability. Go! Clenching his right fist, Li Fuchen blasted a fist forward. Puff puff puff. Immediately after, a blazing flame fist was blasted out and evaporated a large portion of the sea of clouds. The blazing flame fist was extremely scorching and extremely condensed. Because this blazing flame fist was produced by the blazing flame power. It was just like the relationship between martial arts and qi. When qi was blasted out, it would produce massive lethality. But after being activated by martial arts, the lethality would increase drastically. The blazing flame power was much more terrifying than qi, and the blazing flame divine ability was much more terrifying than regular earth-class martial arts. When the two were combined, the burst of power was obviously superior to Li Fuchen's previous strength. After drawing the joint heaven sword, Li Fuchen wielded it with both hands and slashed. Blaze. The giant blazing flame sword Qi split the surging sea of clouds into two. Its power was even superior to the blazing flame fist. The heart of blazing flame allows me to freely control the blazing flame power. I can use the blazing flame power to replace Qi and burst out with stronger strength. Li Fuchen was surging with emotions. Before this, he wasn't able to burst out with too much blazing flame power at once. Because the blazing flame power was too violent, and if he used too much, it would easily burn his meridians and destroy his flesh. But after awakening the heart of blazing flame, Li Fuchen was able to control the blazing flame power perfectly. With the enhancement of the heart of blazing flame, he would be able to burst out with even more terrifying power. In other words, only by awakening the divine ability would he be able to control extraordinary power or special power perfectly. However, the blazing flame divine ability is unable to be combined with Qi and martial arts. When executing the blazing flame divine ability, Li Fuchen wouldn't be able to burst out with Qi, execute martial arts, or use secret techniques. The blazing flame power could only be combined with the blazing flame divine ability. It would repel all other powers and methods. The blazing flame power is still too little. 2 attacks have exhausted half of the blazing flame power. Li Fuchen let out a bitter smile while looking at the fireball that had shrunk to half its original size in the bone frame spatial zone. Chapter 443. That's right, I obviously felt that my perception had increased by a lot. Therefore, I was able to awaken the blazing flame divine ability, Heart of Blazing Flame. What exactly is going on? Li Fuchen's awareness entered his mind. The instant he saw the spirit soul sphere, Li Fuchen finally understood why his perception had suddenly increased. At the start, his spirit soul was gray, then it turned into light green, green, light blue, blue. Right now, his blue spirit soul had a smear of pale purple. It meant that the next spirit soul color would be the purple element spirit soul. Is my spirit soul going to evolve? Li Fuchen's mood was even more excited than when he awakened the blazing flame divine ability. The blazing flame divine ability was ultimately an external power, while the spirit soul was the most fundamental existence. With a stronger spirit soul, all other aspects would be enhanced. When he had the blue spirit soul, his perception was already far beyond the 6-star bone frame and was at least a 7-star bone frame. Li Fuchen couldn't imagine what level his perception would be at with the pale purple spirit soul. If my spirit soul didn't have any changes, my comprehension of the blazing flame pattern would probably be stuck at 49%. I would at most be able to comprehend the fledgling form of the divine ability. The difference between the fledgling form and the divine ability was rather huge. If Xiahou Wu's fledgling form could evolve into a true divine ability, his strength would probably be comparable with the Petrified Queen. The Petrified Queen was so powerful because she had awakened a powerful innate ability, the Petrified Technique. In fact, the mountain-shaking elephant's battle heaven tyrant body should also be very powerful, but Li Fuchen reckoned that the battle heaven tyrant body should only be at the fledgling form of the innate ability and was similar to the fledgling form of the divine ability. Of course, the mountain-shaking elephant possessed the bloodline of the demonic king, mountain-pulling elephant, therefore, his foundation strength was very powerful. Once his reign of needles and battle heaven tyrant body evolved into true innate abilities, his strength might even surpass the Petrified Queen and be comparable with the evil king. When the pale purple spirit soul appeared, Li Fuchen's perception had greatly increased and his comprehension speed of the blazing flame pattern had also increased significantly. 51%, 52%, 55%. After the blazing flame pattern was comprehended to 50%, every additional 10% would increase the speed of absorbing the blazing flame power by 10 times. At 55%, it would be 550 times. But even with an increase in perception, it was still rather difficult to cultivate the Green Sun Sword intent and High Heaven Sword art to the trance stage within a short period of time. After all, these two sword arts were Earth-class mid-tier sword arts. Even a Battle Spirit Realm Master wouldn't be able to comprehend the intent within a short period of time. Evil Domain, Evil Fist Sect. Rumble. Above the dark sky, thunder and lightning crisscrossed and the wind howled. These lightning bolts were all purplish-black in color, as if they had been affected by something. Not long after, the wind became even more violent and the sky became darker. The thick dark clouds converged to form a black shadow, and an indescribable demonic aura suddenly exploded, engulfing the entire Evil Fist Sect. Welcome back, Sect Master. Everyone from the Evil Fist Sect congratulated in unison, their voices suppressing the sound of thunder. Help me send a message. 1 month later, I will challenge Li Fuchen. The location will be the 100 Battle Region's 100 Battle Plains. The Evil King's voice was like a clap of thunder in the clear sky. Yes. An elder of the Evil Fist Sect nodded. In less than a month, the news of the Evil King challenging Li Fuchen had spread throughout the continent. The Evil King was the #1 expert of the East Unicorn continent. With his strength alone, he had deterred the demonic 10 regions and the 100 sects alliance. Li Fuchen was the most outstanding heavenly prodigy in the history of the East Unicorn continent. Before the age of 30, he already had the strength to suppress everyone. The battle between the two of them was said to be the pinnacle battle in the East Unicorn continent for the past few centuries. Whoever won would be the supreme existence of the continent. Once this news was spread out, the continent was in an uproar. At the Wind Snow sect, Mu Hanxin had a worried expression. The Evil King wasn't easy to deal with. The Evil King didn't just cultivate an Earth-class low-tier Evil Dao cultivation technique, he also cultivated an Earth-class low-tier Evil Dao martial art. After the Black Sky Sect ruins was opened, he even obtained an Earth-class glove and an Earth-class cloak. No one knew how strong he was. Had it not been for his carelessness when he barged into the Mystic Tools sect and was severely injured by the Array Pagoda on the dilapidated battleship, before Li Fuchen returned, the 100 Sects alliance might have already been conquered. Alliance leader, this battle is extremely treacherous. You must be fully prepared. Mu Hanxin reminded Li Fuchen. Li Fuchen nodded lightly. This battle will happen sooner or later. It just so happens that I wish to know how strong the Evil King is now. He wasn't confident that he could defeat the Evil King. Back at the Black Sky Sect ruins, he had personally witnessed the Evil King obtaining a glove and a cloak. His silver-scaled armor was an Earth-class mid-tier artifact armor. It meant that the Evil King's glove and cloak were also Earth-class mid-tier. Of course, he might not be confident that he could defeat the Evil King, but it wasn't that easy for the Evil King to defeat him either. Elder Mu, here are 6 sets of equipment. Distribute them to Matriarch Shi and the other Supreme Elders. Li Fuchen took out 6 Earth-class low-tier weapons and 6 Earth-class low-tier artifact armors from his storage bag. The Wind Snow sect had a total of 7 individuals that were above the 7th level of Reincarnation Realm. They were the 6 Supreme Elders and the Wind Snow sect Matriarch Shi Huawei. All 7 of them cultivated the Dark Cold Palm art and weren't considered weak. After equipping the artifact armors and weapons, they would be able to resolve plenty of matters during crucial moments. So many Earth-class equipment? Mu Hanxin was shocked. He thought that during the Second Alliance Conference, Li Fuchen had already taken out all the Earth-class equipment and didn't expect for Li Fuchen to be hiding something. After thinking about it, everyone in the Alliance had their own thoughts. If it was Mu Hanxin, he wouldn't allow everyone to obtain Earth-class equipment at once. Li Fuchen had taken out 6 sets of Earth-class equipment at once, and it was enough to show that Li Fuchen was confident in the Wind Snow sect and treated them as his own people. Alliance leader, are you worried that a war might break out? After keeping the Earth-class equipment, Mu Hanxin asked with hesitation. Li Fuchen replied, I have to be on guard. During the battle between him and the Evil King, all the elite experts would definitely be present. If he didn't prepare for the worst, he would definitely suffer a great loss. Alliance leader doesn't have to worry. The Wind Snow sect will pledge our lives to follow you. With these 6 sets of Earth-class equipment, Mu Hanxin was extremely confident. As long as it wasn't the Evil King, the Petrified Queen, or the Blood Devil King, there was nothing to fear. In the blink of the eye, 1 month was up. On this day, at the 100 Battle Region's 100 Battle Plains, multiple figures flew over from the sky. The 100 Battle region was the most chaotic region in the East Unicorn continent. At the same time, it was also the largest region in the East Unicorn continent. Its surface area was dozens of times bigger than the Azure Water region. This region was an ungoverned region. After the Evil Dao, the 100 Sects Alliance, and the Demonic 10 regions split the world into three, this region became the border of the three major factions. 100 Battle Plains, the border of the 100 Battle region. It was once one of the battlefields of the absolute experts. No one knew how powerful those absolute experts were back then and how strong they were. They only knew that after the 100 Battle Plains suffered the devastation from those absolute experts, it had become extremely dangerous. There were some extremely dangerous places that even Reincarnation Realm experts would be in danger. Swish, swish, swish. There were continuous air-piercing sounds. The first to arrive were the experts from the Demonic 10 regions. They were the Petrified Queen, Blood Devil King, Mountain Shaking Elephant, Devil Pattern Tiger, Power Devil King, Horn Devil King, Ground Rat King, Winged Devil King, Green Devil King, and Gray Devil King. Each of them brought along a different number of subordinates. It is best if the Evil King and Li Fuchen suffer severe injuries. A terrifying existence with a rat head and human body emerged from the surface of the ground and grinned sinisterly. The Ground Rat King was the ruler of the Ground Rat region of the Demonic 10 regions. He wasn't strong, but his survivability was extremely strong. If he focused on escaping, no one would be able to kill him. It is not enough for both sides to suffer severe injuries. It is best if one perishes and the other is on the verge of death. The Gray Devil King, who had gray skin and a body size of 40 feet, spoke. The Gray Devil King's strength was similar to the Horn Devil King. In the Demonic 10 regions, the strongest individual was naturally the Petrified Queen. The Blood Devil King and the Mountain Shaking Elephant were on the same level, while the Devil Pattern Tiger and the Power Devil King were on the same level. As for the rest, their strength was almost the same. Do not underestimate the Evil King. His strength is probably at another level. The Petrified Queen had a grave expression. Before obtaining the gloves and cloak, the Evil King's strength was already superior to her. Although they didn't use their full strength back then and were merely probing each other. That's right. The Evil King is more worthy of our attention. I hope that Li Fuchen is strong enough. The Blood Devil King also had a grave expression. They are here. Just as the Blood Devil King finished speaking, there were continuous air-piercing sounds. The experts from the Evil Dao and the 100 Sects Alliance had arrived. On the side of the demonic path forces, the golden-masked Evil King led the way, his aura like that of a king descending upon the world. To his left was a pale old man with cold and merciless eyes. To his right was a majestic old man with red hair and red eyes. The two elders were the Evil King's left and right hands, the Extreme Een Ancestor and the Blood Ancestor. Behind the trio, there were plenty of high-leveled Reincarnation Realm experts. The one with the silver mask was the Evil Fist Sect's high-leveled Reincarnation Realm expert. The rest were the Extreme Een Cult and 10,000 Blood Cult's high-leveled Reincarnation Realm experts. All of them were at least at the 6th level of Reincarnation Realm. On the other side, the 100 Sects Alliance's experts led by Li Fuchen had also flown over. Li Fuchen was wearing green robes and had a long sword at his waist. He looked exceptionally graceful. Mu Hanxin was in high spirits as he flew on the left side of Li Fuchen. The Eternal Spring Valley's Supreme Grand Elder, Su Yunhe, was smiling as he flew on the right side of Li Fuchen. Behind him were Hua Jianxiu, Guifeng, Xiahou Wu, and the others. The 100 Sects Alliance's chi presence seems a little different. The Blood Devil King couldn't help but comment. How is it different? I feel that it is about the same. It might be because of Li Fuchen's existence that they are more confident. The Mountain Shaking Elephant said with disdain. Apart from Li Fuchen, he didn't even bother about anyone else. When his eyes landed on Su Yunhe, the Mountain Shaking Elephant's eyes flickered with murderous intent. During the previous battle, he had lost a descendant, but with Su Yunhe obstructing him, he wasn't able to take revenge. Li Fuchen, if you surrender now, you still have a chance. Otherwise, my Evil Fist sect will eradicate your entire clan. On the right side of the evil king, one of the silver-masked individuals shouted, "Courting death!" The joint heaven sword was instantly unsheathed as Li Fuchen slashed. Thousands of sword lights were like radiant sunlight that instantly penetrated the silver-masked individual's body. Chapter 444. Puff, puff, puff. Like a sieve, the silver-masked man died instantly. So strong. Grandmaster Zenith Een and the Blood Ancestor were startled and apprehension appeared on their faces. Just from this sword art, the duo knew that they weren't a match for Li Fuchen. This kid's luck is really heaven-defying. Damn it. Thinking of what happened in the ruins of the Black Sky sect, the Blood Ancestor was still angry. The golden-masked Diablo snorted coldly. "Sir, you're really domineering. You want to silence me with just one sentence?" Li Fuchen said, "If you threaten my family, I will naturally kill without mercy. There is no need to be tyrannical." "My subordinate threatened your family and you want to kill him? Since you killed my subordinate, how should I deal with you?" The evil king's eyes shone with a demonic light and his aura was terrifying. Li Fuchen let out an indifferent smile. "If you have the capability, then do as you please. I'm just afraid you don't have the capability." "How dare you?" Evil King was so angry that he laughed. This was the first time someone spoke to him like this ever since he was born. He really didn't know if Li Fuchen was courageous due to his superior skills or if he didn't know his limits. Is this Li Fuchen really a young prodigy that isn't even 30 years old? The petrified queen was rather astonished. A person's ability could increase exponentially in a short period of time, but it was hard to achieve the same result with experience and imposing manner. Li Fuchen's relaxed manner didn't look like a young man at all, but more like a veteran general who had been through the battlefield for a long time. Even when facing a formidable foe, he could still talk and laugh freely. "Evil King, let's cut the crap. Let's fight." Li Fuchen took a step forward and the surging sword chi started to converge. "As you wish." The evil king took a step forward and blasted at Li Fuchen with his horrific evil Dao Chi presence. Both of them were swift and decisive people. Once the killing intent rose in their hearts, they immediately attacked. In the void, two figures crisscrossed and flashed. There was a massive chi wave that burst out. Behind the evil king, the ground was split open and the cut was smooth. Behind Li Fuchen, the ground was plowed by the horrific fist force that was a few miles long and a few feet deep. The battle has begun. Everyone retreated, giving the two of them a fighting space of more than 10 miles. Great sword technique. "Take my demonic tempest shower." The evil king let out a long roar. Behind him, a shadow of a ferocious demon was born. In the next moment, the sky was filled with shadows of fists. Each shadow of the fists carried the force of a thunderbolt, and each shadow of the fists carried an unparalleled demonic fist intent. With a single punch, half of the sky darkened and fell into chaos. Earth-class low-tier Devil Dao cultivation method, Black Demon Tactics. Earth-grade low-rank demonic Dao fist art, Extreme Demonic Fist. Good timing. You're like a fish in water. Li Fuchen's joint heaven sword drew across the sky and countless blue sword lights were shot out like a school of fish, intercepting the fist shadows. Bang 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 bang. The force of the explosion was terrifying. Devil sun in the sky. A black sun slowly rose up. In the next moment, the black sun was like a bullet that was instantly launched at Li Fuchen. The speed was so fast that it felt like it was teleporting. Li Fuchen's eyes were sharp as he raised the joint heaven sword above his head and cleaved. The brilliant sword light looked like it was going to cleave and slash everything. It flashed across the constantly expanding black sun. It was completely silent. The black sun was split into two halves and shot out from both sides of Li Fuchen. Behind Li Fuchen, there were two giant cracks that were just like two large canyons. If the Reincarnation Realm had 16 levels, the Evil King's combat strength was almost at the regular 16th level of Reincarnation Realm. Li Fuchen's cultivation was at the 3rd level of Reincarnation Realm, but his chi quality was already at the 6th level of Reincarnation Realm. When complemented with the blazing flame power on the periphery of the fireball, he would be able to reach the 7th level of Reincarnation Realm. When complemented with the Perfection Stage Green Sun Sword Intent or the High Heaven Sword Art, he would be able to reach the 10th level of Reincarnation Realm. With the enhancement from the Earth Class Mid-Tier Joint Heaven Sword, it wouldn't be difficult to reach the 13th level of Reincarnation Realm. Lastly, it was the Bronze Sword Essence Secret Technique. This secret technique would be able to increase Li Fuchen's strength by 3 levels. As such, Li Fuchen's combat strength was basically comparable with the Evil King. If he didn't use his trump card, it wouldn't be easy to determine the victor. As for the core blazing flame power, Li Fuchen planned to use it sparingly. Different from regular blazing flame power, the core blazing flame power was the essence of the blazing flame power. If he used too much, it would affect the absorption of the blazing flame power. Otherwise, his strength would be able to increase by another level. But this increase was meaningless. Li Fuchen had a feeling that the Evil King hadn't gone all out yet. Furthermore, Li Fuchen was confident that he could defeat anyone with the same combat strength. Because he had exceptional awareness. The ground cracked and chi waves engulfed the area. The duo's battle area was getting bigger. Unknowingly, the duo arrived at a barren mountain that was 2,000 feet in height. On one end of the barren mountain was the Evil King and on the other end was Li Fuchen. The duo couldn't see each other, but their awareness could sense each other. Black lightning surged violently as the Evil King's fist penetrated the barren mountain, leaving behind a deep hole in the center of the mountain. On the other side of the hole was Li Fuchen. It was a pity that it was just an illusion left behind by Li Fuchen. In the next moment, the barren mountain was split into two. A blue sword light that had heaven-defying willpower suddenly extended out and enveloped the Evil King. The Evil King frowned while the cloak on his back shook like a dark cloud. The strange thing was that the Evil King's figure suddenly vanished. When he reappeared, he was already behind Li Fuchen and blasted a fist over. The illusion was shattered while Li Fuchen dodged 100 feet away. He suddenly thrust his sword and thousands of green sword lights burst out from a single point. The cloak engulfed the dark cloud and the Evil King vanished again. This time, Li Fuchen could clearly sense that the Evil King's speed had suddenly increased by several times. Or it should be said that the air resistance had suddenly decreased by several times. Furthermore, the cloak obviously had the effect of eliminating the air-piercing sound. When the Evil King moved, it wasn't just extremely fast, it felt as though he was teleporting. It was also silent and didn't have any movement. This cloak is mystical. It should be a cardinal artifact. Li Fuchen executed the Flying Flame 9 transformations and instantly dodged the Evil King's attack. The Flying Flame 9 transformations was a mystic class peak-tier light body technique. In the 7-color continent, Li Fuchen might not be able to casually cultivate Earth-class martial arts, but it was still very easy for him to find a suitable mystic class peak-tier light body technique. After cultivating the Flying Flame 9 transformations to the trance stage, Li Fuchen's movement speed was shockingly fast within short distances. When complemented with his exceptional awareness, it was nearly impossible for the Evil King to sneak an attack on him. After all, the Evil King wasn't truly teleporting and every time he moved at high speed, he would have to shake the cloak. The Evil King seemed to know that he couldn't sneak an attack on Li Fuchen. He flew up and stood in the sky. Li Fuchen, I have to admit that you are the strongest opponent that I have ever encountered. The golden mask covered the Evil King's face, but everyone could clearly hear the praise in the Evil King's tone. Li Fuchen's body had also flown up and was facing the Evil King from a few miles away. Evil King, show me your true ability. The probing had ended and it was time for the real battle. The Evil King didn't make a move immediately. Li Fuchen, I heard that you were originally a 1-star normal bone frame. I wonder when did you possess the Blazing Flame bone frame and can even activate the Blazing Flame power? Without the Blazing Flame power, you would already be dead earlier. Li Fuchen didn't comment. The Evil King continued, you have the Blazing Flame bone frame, but don't you know that I also have the Devil Thunder bone frame? I shall let you witness what is the Devil Thunder bone frame. The Devil Thunder bone frame was a mutated Thunderbolt bone frame. In this world, there were many types of bone frames. There were extraordinary bone frames, mutated extraordinary bone frames, and special bone frames. Mutated extraordinary bone frames were very rare and were almost as rare as the special bone frames. As for the strength of the bone frame, no one could say for sure if it was comparable to the special bone frames. After all, no matter how powerful the bone frame was, it depended on the owner. Crackle boom. The evil king's body surged with purplish-black thunderbolts. When the purplish-black thunderbolts fused with the black devil chi, it caused the evil king's chi presence to surge crazily. It was as though his entire body had become the source of the purplish-black thunderbolts. Countless purplish-black thunderbolts swept out and wreaked havoc in all directions. This is the evil king's true strength. Everyone held their breaths and had unpleasant expressions. During the battle between the evil king and Li Fuchen, the strength that he burst out was enough to suppress them. With the addition of the Devil Thunder Bone Frame's power, if the evil king wanted to kill them, it would be as easy as killing chickens. It was impossible for them to resist. Devil Thunder Bone Frame, huh? Li Fuchen's expression had a slight change. He might not have heard of the Devil Thunder Bone Frame before, but just from the name, he knew that it was an extremely formidable thunderbolt bone frame. Correspondingly, the Devil Thunder power was definitely superior to the Thunderbolt power. His Blazing Flame power was inferior to Yu Lai's Thunderbolt power. After all, his Blazing Flame bone frame was only 4-star while Yu Lai's Thunderbolt bone frame was 6-star. Devil Wind Shower. When executing a fist, a purplish-black Thunderbolt fist shadow enveloped Li Fuchen. When facing such a large area of effect attack, Li Fuchen's Flying Flame 9 transformations couldn't dodge and had no choice but to resist. Crackle boom. Li Fuchen burst in retreat while his body was covered with purplish-black electric arcs. The evil king's strength had actually increased by 1 or 2 levels. If Li Fuchen didn't dual cultivate and his body refinement was stronger than his chi cultivation, this fist would have severely injured him. I'm fine? The evil king took a deep breath and executed the finishing move of the extreme evil devil fist, Devil Sun in the sky. Like a bouncing star, a black sun that was mixed with purplish-black thunderbolts was shot out. When it approached Li Fuchen, it had already expanded to a few hundred meters in size. It was simply unavoidable and unavoidable. Bronze Sword Essence, Shadow of Scarlet. Circulating the 5-star secret technique, Shadow of Scarlet, the bronze sword chi in Li Fuchen's body was released in an extremely mystical way and formed into a bronze shadow. When Li Fuchen brandished his sword, the bronze shadow's sword shadow had also brandished its sword. In the next moment, there was a giant bronze sword light that had the willpower to go against the current and slashed on the black sun. The bronze sword light exploded while the black sun was still shooting over. But the power had already been reduced by half as it was shattered by a single palm strike from Li Fuchen. What? Stacking of secret technique? The evil king's vision was terrifying and he could clearly sense the changes in Li Fuchen's chi. Chapter 445. How could the evil king know that Li Fuchen's sword essence secret technique could be stacked with most of the secret techniques? Even the sect origin swords could be stacked, therefore, it could also be stacked with the Shadow of Scarlet that had both offense and defense. To be serious, the sword essence secret technique wasn't considered a regular secret technique, it was a secret technique that modified the bones. If it was a regular secret technique, Li Fuchen wouldn't be able to execute 2 secret techniques at the same time. But when the 2 secret techniques were stacked, Li Fuchen felt that his chi consumption had increased significantly. Just executing the Shadow of Scarlet was already exhausting a lot of chi. After stacking with the bronze sword essence, the chi consumption had increased drastically. Li Fuchen was only at the 3rd level of Reincarnation Realm after all. His strength might be formidable, but it couldn't conceal his lack of chi. Of course, no matter how little chi he had, it was still dozens or even 100 times more than the blazing flame power. He didn't have to worry about chi exhaustion for now, unless he used a sword move like the Green Sun Absolution that consumed a lot of chi. I would like to see how long you can last. The evil king spoke in a calm tone. Even though Li Fuchen's strength was beyond his imagination, it was still inferior to him. Furthermore, a battle was exhausting. Be it Li Fuchen's qi or extraordinary power, they were both lesser than the evil king. If the battle dragged on, the evil king would be the one to die. Li Fuchen naturally didn't wish to fight a protracted battle with the evil king. As of now, he had yet to execute the High Heaven Sword Art's third move, Soar into the Sky. It was time to execute it now. The joint heaven sword was glowing as Li Fuchen executed an absolute sword move. This sword move didn't consume as much qi as the Green Sun Absolution, but the power wasn't inferior. It contained Sword Dao laws and was extremely mystical. It could use 10% of the power to burst out with 30% of the lethality. Furthermore, this sword move might be straight, but it was too fast. It was so fast that the evil king didn't have time to use his full strength. Without a choice, the evil king could only burst out with the Devil Thunder core power. The purplish-black thunderbolts on the surface of his body turned into black thunderbolts that were even more powerful. It didn't just block Li Fuchen's sword light, it had also immediately extinguished the sword light. After the evil king burst out with the Devil Thunder core power, even if his strength wasn't at the regular 19th level of Reincarnation Realm, it wasn't too far off. Demon Hammer Strike. The core power of the Devil Thunder would affect the efficiency of absorbing the power of the Devil Thunder. The evil king did not intend to consume too much of the core power of the Devil Thunder. Therefore, the first thing he did was to display the most true qi-consuming and the most terrifying killing move of the extreme demonic fist, Demonic Hammer Strike. The evil king leaped into the sky and arrived above Li Fuchen. He clenched his fists tightly and two black spheres of light appeared on his fists. Buzz, buzz. At a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye, the evil king's left and right fists bombarded the void one after another. At this moment, there seemed to be ripples in the void. Patches of black ripples extended towards Li Fuchen. The speed at which the ripples spread was too fast, and the area it covered was also extremely wide. The ground beneath Li Fuchen was instantly dislocated, as though there was an earthquake. Crack! Sensing the terror of this fist, Li Fuchen quickly burst out with the core blazing flame power and slashed with his sword. The ripples were split apart layer by layer. Finally, Li Fuchen was shaken to the ground by the ripples and was shaken into the ground. What a terrifying move! The petrified queen believed that she wouldn't be able to block the evil king's fist. Of course, as the #1 expert of the demonic 10 regions, she wasn't a fool to forcefully resist the evil king's strongest kill move. Back then, Yu Lai's strength was much inferior to her, but with his superior speed he was still able to escape. Even if she couldn't defeat the evil king, the petrified queen was confident that she could protect herself. How can he be so powerful? The mountain-shaking elephant's eyes contracted and had an appalled expression. Back when he exchanged moves with the evil king was already able to suppress him, but wasn't able to instantly kill him. Right now, the evil king was already able to instantly kill him. Even if the mountain-shaking elephant activated his innate ability, the Battle Heaven Tyrant Body, he would still be turned into a blood mist without any suspense. As for Li Fuchen's strength, it had also shocked the mountain-shaking elephant. Previously, it was already very terrifying for Li Fuchen to fight against 4 people by himself. But as compared to the strength that he burst out with now, it was undoubtedly insignificant. The situation of the East Unicorn continent is changing too quickly. At this moment, even the Blood Devil King was trembling with fear. The evil king and Li Fuchen were both existences that had broken the balance. With these two individuals around, how could the Blood Devil King stand out? He couldn't help but recall a saying that was passed down among the humans. The river flows east for 30 years, then west for 30 years. Previously, the demonic 10 regions were extremely awe-inspiring. But after the evil Dao emerged, the demonic 10 regions immediately quieted down. Right now, the 100 Sects Alliance had also caught up. It was fortunate that Li Fuchen wouldn't be able to live past today. Otherwise, the demonic 10 regions would be at the bottom. They wouldn't dare to offend the evil Dao. They wouldn't even dare to offend the 100 Sects Alliance. Seeing Li Fuchen being smashed into the ground, Mu Hanxin's heart tightened. He didn't expect the evil king to be so powerful. He knew Li Fuchen's strength better than anyone else. The other members of the 100 Sects alliance didn't have great expressions either. They might not have submitted to Li Fuchen and were rather unconvinced and unwilling, but Li Fuchen was still the alliance leader of the 100 Sects alliance. Once Li Fuchen died, the 100 Sects alliance would be finished too. The current evil king was unstoppable. Everyone let out a breath of relief as Li Fuchen wasn't dead and wasn't even injured. The ground shook as Li Fuchen rushed out. The evil king's fist earlier was only 10% or 20% stronger than him. It wasn't even able to injure him. Frowning, the evil king's eyes burst with devilish light. Li Fuchen's defense was simply beyond his expectations. He didn't think that this fist would be able to kill Li Fuchen, but it should at least be able to injure Li Fuchen a little, right? But with the current situation, even if he executed dozens of fists, he might not be able to kill Li Fuchen. After dozens of fists, his Devil Thunder core power would be depleted by at least half. I cannot drag this on. The evil king made up his mind. He isn't even injured after that? The Extreme Yin Ancestor and the Blood Ancestor opened their mouths but couldn't make a sound. After forcefully letting out a turbid breath, the evil king sized up the silver scale armor inside Li Fuchen's damaged clothes and said slowly, "This armor of yours should be Earth class mid-tier, right? Otherwise, that fist earlier would have severely injured you." That's right. Li Fuchen didn't lie. It didn't matter what he said, as long as he was defeated or killed, he wouldn't have a good ending. But if he wasn't defeated, so what if he exposed the silver scale armor? No one would dare to snatch it and no one would be able to snatch it. Earth class mid-tier armor. The Extreme Yin Ancestor and the Blood Ancestor revealed greedy expressions, but they were quickly disappointed. With the evil king around, if Li Fuchen died, they wouldn't have a chance to obtain this armor. On the 100 Sects Alliance's side, everyone had expressions of shock and jealousy. They didn't even have an entire set of Earth-class low-tier equipment. They didn't expect for Li Fuchen to have an Earth-class mid-tier armor. How profound was Li Fuchen's fated encounter? Why didn't they have such profound fated encounters? Your artifact sword should also be Earth-class mid-tier. The evil king continued. Right now, everyone was numb. This Li Fuchen was simply a heavenly prodigy, a favored child of the heavens. His equipment was Earth-class mid-tier, while they were still struggling at the Earth-class low-tier. Your fated encounter is heaven-defying. If you are given time, the entire East Unicorn continent will be under your rule. It is a pity that you encountered me. While speaking, the evil king withdrew the black devil chi in his body. In the next moment, the horrific and violent devil thunder power replaced the chi and filled the body. Li Fuchen squinted his eyes. In normal situations, extraordinary power wouldn't be able to fill the body and would only burst out together with the chi. Furthermore, the amount of extraordinary power that burst out wouldn't be too much, as it might destroy the meridians and flesh. But right now, the evil king's body was obviously filled with devil thunder power and his body wasn't damaged at all. This meant that the evil king had awakened a devil thunder divine ability. Is this your true trump card? Li Fuchen was moved. The evil king let out a light smile while his body suddenly released a purplish-black thunderlight. The violent chi prowess had caused the sky to change. The ground couldn't withstand the pressure and started to crack. Pieces of rocks and soil rose into the air and floated there. You are very unfortunate. During my seclusion, I have already awakened a devil thunder divine ability. Just by relying on this divine ability, I am confident that I can fight against a regular first-level battle spirit realm expert. The evil king's voice was extremely cold. A battle spirit realm expert must have cultivated an earth-class cultivation technique. But without the extraordinary bone frame and divine ability, one would only be a regular first-level battle spirit realm martial artist. If it was a first-level battle spirit realm martial artist that cultivated an earth-class low-tier cultivation technique, the evil king was confident to contest with him. This was because of his confidence in the devil thunder divine ability. As for a first-level battle spirit realm martial artist that cultivated a mystic-class peak-tier cultivation technique, it was almost impossible. The evil king knew clearly that if one didn't cultivate an earth-class cultivation technique, it was impossible to progress to the battle spirit realm. Let's fight. Li Fuchen took a deep breath. He had indeed underestimated the evil king, but it wasn't as if he didn't have a trump card. Supreme Black Devil Thunder. The evil king made a move. The instant he made his move, the thunder light on his body was blazing to the extreme. Thunder patterns were swimming in the thunder light, and they were divine ability patterns. When the evil king opened his right hand, a massive purple-black thunder sphere was produced. The evil king swung his hand and the thunder sphere was blasted at Li Fuchen. The thunder sphere was expanding at an extreme speed and the power was at the extreme. The horrific thunder power had electrocuted all the rocks and soil into dust. The wandering thunder power had also affected everyone, causing their bodies to feel numb and forcing them to retreat frantically. Too terrifying. Is this the power of a divine ability? Everyone was terrified. It was recorded in the ancient records that a martial artist that awakened a divine ability would be invincible in the same realm. This statement wasn't just for show. Clear Sky Sword Art. Li Fuchen activated the Clear Sky Sword Art martial pattern on his wrist and clashed with the evil king's Devil Thunder divine ability. A resplendent and boundless sword light burst out and was also in the shape of a sphere. Boom. The world lost its color and the only thing that could be seen was the devastating purple-black thunder and the resplendent sword light. It was obvious that the evil king's Devil Thunder divine ability had its own circulation system. The Devil Thunder power was circulating and was able to maintain a complete state. As for Li Fuchen's Clear Sky Sword Art, it was ultimately inferior by one level and quickly crumbled. Chapter 446. It is over. The evil king felt that it was a pity. Killing an unrivaled prodigy would definitely make one sigh. It was just like destroying a priceless artwork. But this sigh was only for an instant. The path of the martial Dao had always been the survival of the fittest. After killing Li Fuchen's chief fate would more or less be absorbed by the evil king. Impossible? Mu Hanxin had a painful expression and a trace of fear. So what if he is an unrivaled prodigy? A dead prodigy is just a wild dog. The blood ancestor grinned. At the side, the extreme Yin ancestor nodded. Is he still a stepping stone for the evil king? The petrified queen sighed. She wasn't just sighing for Li Fuchen, she was also sighing for the future of the demonic 10 regions. With the evil king around, the demonic 10 regions would probably be the same as before. They could only hide in a corner and wait for an opportunity. It was fortunate that demonic beasts and demons had a lifespan that far surpassed humans. As long as the evil king didn't progress to the battle spirit realm, he would eventually die of old age. The spectators all had different thoughts. After wreaking havoc, the thunder sphere had expanded to the size of a few miles. Immediately after, the circulation system collapsed and it suddenly exploded. Countless purplish-black thunderbolts wandered in the air and plowed the ground over and over again. The dense electric arcs had even filled the space over a dozen miles. Just this divine ability was probably enough to kill thousands of Heaven-Dipper realm martial artists. Finally, the thunderbolts dispersed and the electric arcs were extinguished. At the place where Li Fuchen was, a giant pit appeared in everyone's vision. This pit was too big and was able to contain a small city. The center of the pit was over 1,000 feet deep, and when looking down from the sky, it was extremely shocking. The evil king's expression suddenly changed. It was as though he saw something unbelievable. Soon enough, the others also noticed something strange. In the center of the pit, a figure gradually became clear. Normally, the evil king's divine ability was enough to shatter a person's body and bones. At most, the person would only be able to preserve their equipment. But Li Fuchen was actually able to preserve his body, and it was truly a miracle. Immediately after, an even greater miracle happened. Li Fuchen, who was supposed to be dead, actually moved. Swish. Bending his knee, Li Fuchen flew into the sky. Evil monarch, your divine ability isn't powerful enough. At this moment, apart from a few scorch marks on his body, he was not injured at all, and his aura was not weak in the slightest. How did you do it? Evil King's voice was deep. I did it just like that. Li Fuchen replied. The Alliance Master isn't dead. Mu Hanxin was on the verge of collapsing. He felt as though he had just experienced life and death. He's still alive? Everyone was speechless and didn't know what to say. This was especially true for Grandmaster Zenith Yin and the Blood Ancestor. The two of them looked as if they had eaten filth, their complexions extremely unsightly. After sizing up Li Fuchen carefully, the evil monarch finally saw something. Li Fuchen's body was emitting a layer of pale golden halo. This halo contained qi blood waves, but it was several times stronger than qi blood. It was obviously the extraordinary qi power that was produced when the body refinement reached a certain level. His body also had extraordinary qi power, but it wasn't as powerful as Li Fuchen. It wasn't as simple as just 1 or 2 levels lower. Evil King, what skills do you have? Bring them all out. The reason why Li Fuchen had the confidence to return to the East Unicorn continent wasn't because of his strength, but because of his superior defense. Class 5 demons had extremely tough defenses and were extremely hard to kill, unless one's strength was far superior. Li Fuchen's physical defense was much stronger than Class 5 demons. Back at the Black Sky Sect ruins, Li Fuchen's physical defense was already at the pinnacle of the East Unicorn continent. It was fine if it was just that, but Li Fuchen's qi defense wasn't to be underestimated either. After all, it was enhanced by the silver scale armor. After the qi defense weakened, the lethal power that actually landed on Li Fuchen's body was already reduced by half. Therefore, the Evil King's Devil Thunder divine ability was only able to put Li Fuchen in a miserable state, but it wasn't able to truly injure Li Fuchen. Supreme Black Devil Thunder. The Evil King didn't say anything as he didn't believe that Li Fuchen could withstand 2 rounds of Supreme Black Devil Thunder. The horrific Supreme Black Devil Thunder burst out and engulfed Li Fuchen again. This time, Li Fuchen didn't even execute the Clear Sky Sword art and used the High Heaven Sword art to eliminate a portion of the Supreme Black Devil Thunder's power. As for the remaining power, Li Fuchen would forcefully resist it. There was another giant pit on the ground. Li Fuchen was still standing in the pit and his body was still unscathed. Die! The Evil King was enraged and blasted the 3rd round of Supreme Black Devil Thunder at Li Fuchen. The Devil Thunder power in the Evil King's body had been accumulated for over a dozen years and it was far more vigorous than Li Fuchen's blazing flame power. Therefore, even if the Evil King executed the Supreme Black Devil Thunder over a dozen times, he would still be able to withstand it. 4 rounds. 5 rounds. 6 rounds. The Evil King had released 4 rounds of Supreme Black Devil Thunder in a single breath. That giant pit had increased from 1,000 feet to a few thousand feet in depth. Even the underground undercurrents had been blasted out before they were vaporized by the thunderbolts and rose into the sky. But Li Fuchen wasn't injured at all. Evil King, you cannot kill me. Li Fuchen's dragon elephant power was extremely vigorous. With 55,000 strands of dragon elephant power protecting his body, Li Fuchen's body was watertight. Unless the Evil King was able to destroy the dragon elephant power, it was impossible to injure Li Fuchen. On the contrary, Li Fuchen's qi was extremely chaotic. The 5-star secret technique, Shadow of Scarlet, had already been dispersed by the 1st round of Supreme Black Devil Thunder. Subsequently, Li Fuchen had to rely on the silver scale armor's barrier as the 1st layer of defense. Every time the barrier was destroyed, Li Fuchen's body would suffer a qi impact. It was fortunate that Li Fuchen's body refinement was tough enough. Just a portion of the dragon elephant power was enough to suppress the chaotic qi. If it was someone else, their body would have exploded and died. This is impossible. The Evil King was panting slightly. Even if the Devil Thunder power in his body was very vigorous, after executing the Supreme Black Devil Thunder so many times, it felt like it was being emptied. But what about Li Fuchen? Li Fuchen wasn't injured at all. How could the Evil King remain calm? Evil King, you have a divine ability. Li Fuchen also have a divine ability. Taking a beating wasn't Li Fuchen's style. The violent blazing flame power surged into Li Fuchen's body from the bone frame's spatial zone. In an instant, Li Fuchen turned into a flaming man and a qi presence that wasn't inferior to the Evil King burst into the sky. Li Fuchen's blazing flame power might be inferior to the evil king's devil thunder power, but Li Fuchen had a higher utilization rate. This was mainly because Li Fuchen cultivated the Earth-class mid-tier cultivation technique, Ardent Sun Divine Technique. The higher the grade of the cultivation technique, the more meridians would be opened up. There were some meridians that could only be found by following the cultivation technique. Otherwise, it would be hard to find them even with the awareness scan. The blazing flame power was the same as Qi, it had to be burst through the meridians. The more meridians there were, the more blazing flame power that could be burst out in an instant. Blazing flame patterns were circulating on the surface of Li Fuchen's body. Immediately after, Li Fuchen raised the joint heaven sword and slashed at the evil king. Swish! The ferocious blazing flame sword Qi felt like it was going to explode the void as it cleaved at the evil king. The heart of blazing flame divine ability was very unique. It wasn't like the supreme black devil thunder which could only be released in one way. The heart of blazing flame could be released in any form because it had completed the final transformation inside Li Fuchen's body. If the supreme black devil thunder was a martial art, then the heart of blazing flame was a cultivation technique. One was transforming on the outside, while the other was transforming on the inside. Blazing flame divine ability. The evil king's expression changed as he quickly released the supreme black devil thunder. Rumble! The radius of a few miles was split up by the sea of thunder and the sea of flames. The horrific prowess made everyone speechless. The divine ability duel was too horrific. If one had to describe it, it was as though two individuals were using Earth-class high-tier martial arts to duel. Ultimately, the blazing flame sword Qi was still slightly inferior and was extinguished by the supreme black devil thunder. However, the supreme black devil thunder had lost most of its power and its circulation system had collapsed. It was unable to deal with Li Fuchen. How is this possible? His blazing flame divine ability is actually able to contest with my supreme black devil thunder. The evil king had an extremely gloomy expression. All of a sudden, he thought of something. Extraordinary power also required meridians to burst out. The reason why Li Fuchen's blazing flame divine ability was able to contest with his supreme black devil thunder was because Li Fuchen's cultivation technique's grade was higher than his. Therefore, Li Fuchen's meridians were naturally more developed. Boom! Boom! The two's divine abilities collided again and again. After releasing 4 blazing flame divine abilities, Li Fuchen let out a bitter smile in his heart. The blazing flame power in his body was only enough to execute the heart of blazing flame 6 times. It was merely 2 more times than when he just awakened the heart of blazing flame. Li Fuchen's devil thunder power was definitely much more than his. It was fortunate that Li Fuchen had already used up 6 divine abilities. With the addition of these 4 divine abilities, Li Fuchen's devil thunder power probably wouldn't be able to last much longer. Li Fuchen, you are not bad. You are actually able to contest with me to this extent. The evil king didn't execute any more divine abilities. So what if he used up Li Fuchen's blazing flame power? With Li Fuchen's defenses, the evil king wouldn't be able to kill Li Fuchen within a short period of time. Once the battle dragged on, even if the evil king killed Li Fuchen, he would exhaust a lot of his energy, giving others the opportunity to kill him. If he wanted to kill Li Fuchen, he wouldn't be able to rely on himself. He had to rely on everyone to work together. After all, no matter how tough the defense was, there was a limit. As long as the attacks were frequent enough, even a piece of wood could be smashed into pieces. Of course, if Li Fuchen could rely on his physical defense to resist the evil king's attacks, the evil king wouldn't hesitate and would immediately leave. But Li Fuchen's physical defense obviously wasn't at this level. He had to rely on his Qi defense to act as the first layer of defense. Li Fuchen felt it was rather strange and got vigilant. Petrified Queen, if you don't make a move now, when are you going to do it? The evil king suddenly looked towards the petrified queen's direction and yelled out, I will naturally make a move. It was unknown when the petrified queen had already appeared a few miles behind Li Fuchen. She slapped at Li Fuchen with both hands and an overwhelming white radiance enveloped Li Fuchen. Innate ability. Petrification technique. The petrification technique was lacking in terms of offense, but even the evil king wasn't willing to be enveloped by the petrification technique. Back then, Yu Lai was only touched by a little bit of the petrification technique and was instantly injured. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, martial world, and tales of demons and gods.